Hi and welcome. Today I'm working on my sound design project for a dance movie, which is roughly 30 minutes long. The movie is all done and I'm just trying to add some sound to it, which has been a challenge because I'm used to working with performances live using Ableton and Max MSP and stuff, and mixing and modulating sounds in real time during a performance. So, and reacting to the stuff that happens on stage. So, working to a ready-made dance movie is has been a bit of a challenge because of course it's totally the same every time I see it. So I don't get any feedback from the dancers. There's not that kind of communication and cooperation that I'm used to. I think I'm getting there now. And of course, I've been working with the choreographer for quite some time. And this has taken quite a lot of time because this is, what do you call it, a pro bono project for me. So I don't get any money for it. And of course, then it isn't at the top of my priority list because I have to take care of the paid projects first. But now I'm getting there. And I mean, it's soon the middle of December and I want to be wrapped up before next year. So we're getting there. And what I played you now was just part from the middle of the movie. It's been fairly basic actually. I haven't done that much of heavy sound design, as you might call it, in this sense, because, well, mainly I'm just playing through patches in Absynth and my other plugins and trying to find presets. I'm sorry to say it, but I just try to find presets that work within this the total soundscape of this movie, and so I don't have any time to go in and heavily edit the patches because, well, as I said before, this is a pro bono project, so I can't like spend hours and hours on fiddling about with one sound to get just what I want. But I hope I'm using the ChatGPT assisted drum section that I released a video about in what we call a fight scene in this video. So, which I think it fits in a way. So, but in the end, all this is up to the choreographer because that person is the person that has the final say in everything that goes into this movie. So, and I'm using Absynth. Absynth is an old favorite of mine, and they just released version 6, which I'm really excited about. I haven't downloaded or tried it out yet, but Absynth is great for this kind of stuff because you have all these weird, strange atmospheric textures, and it can be quite aggressive, and it can be quite beautiful, it can be metallic and organic, and yeah. So basically what I'm just doing is layering some sounds in the range window in Logic. As you can see here, this is the whole project. It's about 25 minutes. It's the total duration. So now I just made, let's see, just zoom out a little here. Just made a transition from one scene to another. Yeah, and they were into something that's called the forest. You might say I have the basic tracks are here, but of course these are quite long stretches, so the structure of this particular choreography is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like 5 main parts. And as you can see here at the top, the marker lane, we have an opening, we have something called the forest, and we have something called transition, and we have the fight, and we have after the fight, and then it's the credits for after the movie is finished. So I've been trying to find some textures that would fit in this. It's supposed to be a little bit dark and industrial and you know, rough at the edges and maybe a little bit scary, like a suspense thriller movie or something like that. So then you go for the dark and maybe metallic, you know, mysterious sounds. I also used the Muse on one track actually, because when you use an analog synth, I have never used any analog synths for the most part in my previous productions because they tend to sound a little bit too synth-like, if you know what I mean. But we're getting there, and I also put in some parts that I'm really not sure if the choreographer is gonna like, but she told me that I should think of this as a musical piece firstly, and music to the choreography secondly, if that makes any sense. So the finished soundscape should function on its own, but of course that has its caveats, because when you're working with dance and movement, you always have to think that to take care of that the music doesn't take too much space and doesn't tell too much of a story. So you always have to imagine that there's something going on visually that you have to take into consideration, which is really important, because otherwise it could be too much on top of each other, if you understand, and too much competing between the narrative aspect of the sound versus what is happening in front of your eyes. So just like in the movie, I guess. And this is a movie, so there you go. But I've made this part here, which is much more like a keyboard part. Yeah, so it's quite dramatic. And actually, I haven't been. Of course, I watched the video quite a few times, but when I've been doing this work the last couple of weeks, I haven't watched at the video at all, almost, because I don't want to get too hung up in everything that happens. I just want to focus on the musical timing and the structure of the sound as a separate entity, you might say. And of course, I have a little glimpse at the video at times, just to see that it doesn't get too much in sync with what happens, because this is a contemporary dance, so it's not in time with the music. But of course, when the dancers do their stuff in a certain rhythm or a certain energy, you might say, then of course that affects the sound also. So it has to be some kind of communication or togetherness, you might say. So it's a whole, not just two separate things going on in widely different directions. And but it's better for this kind of project, I find, to work more with my ears and then just have a little glimpse at the video from time to time. So for instance, that I don't have any dramatic stuff happening in the music, which looks really strange according to something that makes, maybe there's a scene change in the movie, and you know that looks really corny and trite, and we don't want trite. So and I'm sure of this part if it's going to be accepted, but I like it, so maybe it gets to stay or maybe it doesn't. I mean, that's just how it is when you make music to other people. You can't always get what you want. But it's been fun. It's been fun digging out Absynth again. It's a really great synth, and for this kind of projects, it's perfect. You know, the character of the sounds from Absynth is not something. If I'm writing like a instrumental prog rock style music, or maybe something with lyrics, then Absynth is maybe the first. It's not the first synth that you reach for, because it's so strange and weird and characteristic. But for this kind of project, it's perfect. This is another transition to the next part of the video. Yeah, so there's this beat going on there, which is cool, I think. Okay, I just have to fade in a little here. I just do this on the region, just to get it in and out, maybe a little more. Oh, it should be a little quicker. This. Yeah. And I have to be careful that I don't have stretches that are too long without anything happening sonically. So, and I think this part is one of those, because I can see here that it's just a couple of files, long files that are playing for the whole time. So I think this will be the next part that I'm working on. I was in here, but yeah, I think that is okay. That is some kind of stuff going on. This is also just a very rough mix. I mean, I think I have to go in when I get the sign off and okay from the choreographer, then I can go in and maybe take something out and leave more space, you know, so I don't have wall-to-wall sound, but that can be a little bit tiring for the ears. So leaving some breathing space is also important where it fits. Yeah, that part here is maybe a little bit irritating after a while, or tiring, so maybe I have to just phase that out, but we can put in some other stuff first. And then we go to the true and trusted Absynth and see if there is any cool sounds that I can put in there. And this is perfect. And what is cool with the X-Touch from Behringer is that I can just work with the volume and level and stuff and just get it all done with, and I can bounce it, and then that track is done. So let's just check if this fits. Yeah, definitely it's the right timbre and the right key area or tonal area. So I just start and record. I tried some modulation, but that is probably a little bit too corny. So let's see. I think I'll just erase that and do again. I also heard there was some kind of gap in the sound here. Okay, it wasn't there. There's a part here that is way too loud and intrusive. Let's just see. Yeah, there. Is it this one? Yeah. Well, I'm not totally happy with that, of course, but I can manage afterwards. And I fade out this one. And then we need some more sounds from the Absynth. So I'm just creating variation by using different timbres. That's really a cheap and cheerful way to do it, but that's just one way to keep stuff interesting. And it's a little bit hard to keep things interesting when you're working in this kind of soundscape because, yeah, after a while all the sounds can get to be a little bit samey. So bringing in some new tidbits for the ears from time to time, I think it's a good thing. And of course, reuse stuff because try to get things to stick together or as a whole. But for now, I think this is the best way to go forward. So not that one. It's nice, but it's made a little bit too nice here because we're heading into the fight scene. So that will be too gentle. I also try to stay away from too synthy or keyboard like sounds, if you understand. So I don't want any piano or have an organ or stuff like that. That will be totally weird in this kind of setting. Oh, there's so many patches that I remember here. So this is the part of sound design that I found the most boring, just trying to find patches. Oh, that's quite cool, but okay. Oh, that was actually really cool when I transposed it down a bit. It goes on forever, this one. Okay, but no problem. I just have to check in the movie what's happening. Yeah, actually, I think that will work just fine. Why doesn't it stop? I mean, has the longest release ever. Just check on the envelope. Oh, yeah. I don't mind. Okay, let's do this. Sorry for laughing. And automate that, and we start playing. It's a little weird, but let's just see how this. Okay, this will probably go on forever. If I try to bounce it, it will probably never end. So let's see. Yeah, that was quite fast. No, okay. No, it wasn't perfect. So let's just do another. Yeah, you feel after a certain time that the sound has outstayed its welcome. So I think that was okay. I'm not totally sure it fits perfectly with the stuff that's going on in the video. I'll worry more about that later. Now it's more just about getting stuff down on the hard drive and so this is the next part, which is the fighting bit. I think that is okay. I have quite a lot of stuff going on there, so yeah. So that's a sort of complex rhythm beat thing going on, you might say. And I think the ChatGPT jumps that I made works quite well, actually. So we have this stuff going on that it's not in time with the other music, but fits quite well. Yeah, and I also put in some choir, which I thought was quite fun, but again, that's up to the choreographer. Yeah, it's like a song from Prog Rock Hell. I think that's quite cool, actually, but that's just my taste. Okay, we definitely don't need anything more here because that's maybe too much happening. So, but it's the peak of the whole video, and after this, it's cool. It's just like the fish analogy, you know. You start easy and then go like this, the high point, and you have this, and maybe a little tail at the end. So the overall structure of the piece is like a fish seen from the side. Could be, but it's really typical in a lot of music. And this is the end, which I think is okay. Let me just check the transition from the fight bit. It's almost like a synth solo, that flangy Absynth part there, but that's really cool, I think, because then I can pretend I'm a keyboard player for a few minutes. Well, I am a keyboard player, but in this context. And then this nice crunchy sounds under here, which is from native instruments of some kind. Yeah. Here comes the next final part, which should be more friendly and more together, you might say. That was a way too abrupt ending on something. I'm not sure what, but let's see. Just gonna bounce the drums, and there was something just stopping. Where was that? Okay, I see it. Yes. I just have a little fade out there and maybe a little fade in just to ease. I don't want any kind of clicks. That's the really no-go. I like that bendy part. That's really nice. Actually, when I'm working now, I have an active instance of the master disk from Brainworks. So I have a sort of master channel light on my main output, but that's because I think it's a good way to work because the internal correlation between the levels in the overall sound is so important when you're doing this kind of stuff. So it would be a little strange just to, because the slight compression and the slight effect that kind of plugin has on the total sound makes me do decisions regarding levels and stuff, which can be quite different if I don't have any kind of compression or glue at the master output. So I think it helps me work a little bit faster, actually. Yeah, okay. Soon gonna wrap this up. So we have the last part here. So it still has that kind of murky, threatening foundation, but it's a little bit more hopeful in the tonal space. I'm just gonna swap these automation settings to read so I don't accidentally do stuff. Okay, and here's the yeah, there you hear some chords again. Yeah, that's a patch from Omnisphere, actually. So from the vocal library, I think. But yeah, just to get some kind of sacral or sacred feeling, just a touch. And yeah, well, it's getting there. This is the opening. Yeah, hopefully by tomorrow I'll be finished, or at least ready to send the mix. Not finished mix, but second or third version mix to the choreographer, and we'll see what happens. So hope you enjoyed this little view into my sound design world, at least one part of it, and hope to see you next time.